Hi guys, Asmo here. I have finally gotten my HeadHunter. This has been quite a grind, a much longer grind than in the last league because the HeadHunter is much more rare this league. It's very rare. It's almost at the price of a mirror. Extremely rare, extremely expensive. I got it for I think 133 exalts or something like that. It's an extremely high price. I haven't seen it that expensive before. And also this league, the farming methods have been nerfed, so the methods for making currency have been actually nerfed, so we cannot farm as much currency as quickly as easily as last league. So it was a little bit more difficult, and it took me about a week, let's say maybe like 5 days, maybe 6 days, like less than a week to farm this HeadHunter. And in this video I'm gonna share exactly what I did, what was my exact strategy, because during this time when I was streaming, people were coming to the stream and being like, hey, is this your strategy, right? Are you farming breaches in Lira? Is this how you're making currency? I'm like, well, yes and no. Oh, and then some other person came out another time and I was doing Atoll. Hey, are you doing essences? Are you doing essences to farm for your HeadHunter? I'm like, well, yes and no, right? Because I was doing a lot of different things at the same time. So I'm gonna explain kind of like my gameplay loop of what I was doing in order to get a HeadHunter, because I think it is actually quite efficient to do multiple things at the same time. So I'm gonna tell you first about my league start, how it went, what I invested into this character in order to do all of these strategies, and then how I went from there when I actually started to farm the currency for the HeadHunter. So my league start was a bosser. I started with the Soul Rest Necromancer. I started bossing. I was buying Guardian maps and fighting Shaper, Elder, Uber Elder, and doing that for the first like 3 days or something. And then I was farming a little bit more currency and progressing my Atlas. So that was my first week. Basically, I got a little bit of currency. I killed some bosses. I did my Atlas. I unlocked the Uncharted Realm passes that I would be needing, that would be necessary for my strategies. I unlocked enough Watchstones so that with some purchasable Watchstones and craftable Watchstones I could do my strategies. And then I proceeded to like test different strategies while farming currency for this character. As I played the league mechanic, I realized, okay, HeadHunter is gonna be actually great for the league mechanic. What kind of a build can utilize HeadHunter very well? Well, usually it's something that does physical and elemental and can benefit from like cast speed or attack speed. So I settled on Penance Brand. Penance Brand is really nice for the ultimatums. It does physical damage converted to elemental damage. It has huge potential for min-maxing later on, so I can invest mirrors and mirrors into this so the league will not get boring quickly, because I have like a extremely long project. So that was another reason why I picked this build, because otherwise there's like not that much end game content anymore in the game after GG removed some of it. And so I decided that I'm gonna play the Penance Brand, and I farmed at first with just the Incandescent Heart and a couple of obliterations. It took me a fucking really long time to 6-link this, because I tried to 6-link it first. I spent like 5x trying to 6-link, and then I was like, oh my god, it's never gonna 6-link. I guess I'm just gonna have to buy a 6-link, and then I bought a 6-link for like 5x. So I had to spend first 10x for no good reason on a 6-link Incandescent Heart. That was like the biggest expense that slowed me down like a day, and that was very annoying. Then next day I farmed with that character with a couple of obliterations, and the obliterations, I also had the Calls of the Brotherhood. So I had Calls of the Brotherhood, 2 obliterations, Incandescent Heart, and then with the Occultist Pops and obliterations, the clear was very nice. So I was going very quickly. Mapping was extremely good, although I still didn't have good enough cast speed, because Penance Brand is not an easy build. You need to have like a certain amount of cast speed. You need to have like 10 activations, I think, per second or whatever, so that you can have 2 brands attached to an enemy and activate both of them 10 times. So that's 20 energy, so you get the maximum explosion. So you want to do that, but it's quite difficult on a budget. I farmed a little bit of currency, got myself 2 Void batteries. I got them with decent rolls, like 20% cast speed, 19% cast speed, and then both of them cost I don't know, they were like 2x or something. And then I got another, or 1x, and then 2x for the badge of the Brotherhood. So I got myself the badge, I get myself these, and that was basically my gear. I was running with this belt, which just basically has some dex, energy shield, and a res, you know. So that was the gear that I was running in order to farm for my HH. And from that point on, which was like 1 week into the league, I upgraded absolutely nothing. I had very cheap cluster jewels. That was what I farmed for in the first week, so I got myself like a cheap-ish blast freeze. I think I rolled blast freeze actually myself on this. I bought Remarkable Brand Loyalty and Holy Conquest Brand Loyalty jewels, very cheap. I bought Hubris Circlet and divined it so that I can get the frenzy charges. So that was what I did in the first week. So after the first week, I already tested some strategies. I already had my eye on what would be good. I noticed that Blighted maps were pretty expensive, so I thought, okay, Blighted maps might be a good idea, farming them. And then I also realized that breaches are very expensive. Because of the changes to breaches, I was like, okay, so maybe farming breaches. My first thought was to go Lex Proxima because of the chance to drop like an actual breach stone, right? And that turned out to be actually not so good. I played in that region for like a day. And then I was like, okay, this is not as good as I expected. The breach stones dropped extremely rare. I don't know if I got really unlucky, but there's also not that much else in this region. The ghosts are great, okay? The ghosts are very nice, and people dropped some good stuff from that. But the other nodes are like, you're wasting some points, right? You're wasting like 2 points that you're not benefiting from, and the breaches are not as good in this region. And the map that I was trying to farm was Park. I don't think the Park has that many like benefits to it other than just being a very nice layout. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna test this region, right? I'm gonna test the breaches. I've heard some people had a good experience with breaches in here, so I went to that region and tested it, and it was much better. Okay, this Lyra Arthane region was much better, and of course it had the blight nodes, which had higher chance to drop the oils, and also the maps, which were also anointed. So I decided, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So at first I was buying breach scarabs, and I immediately started with buying as good breach scarabs as I could. The reason why I was like splurging on gilded breach scarabs is because when you're farming, when you're doing whatever strategy you're doing, right, you want to make sure that you're maximizing the time that you spend doing that specific thing that gives you the most currency. For example, there was a strategy where in Valdo's Rest last league you would just run to the Harbinger packs, kill them and leave them up. You wouldn't go and like kill other random monsters because you don't need that. You only want to do the thing that gives you the most currency. So I got myself Watchstones. I got them very cheap. You can also roll them yourself. I got pretty nice rolls on them. I divined them a little bit so that I can have breaches in areas, have like 90+% increased chance to belong to Chayula. And if you have this like 99%, with this node from Uncharted Realms, that is 25%, you're getting like 120 per each, right? 120% increased chance to be Chayula per each. And that was very successful. I farmed a lot of Chayula Breachstones, like a lot of pure Chayula Breachstones. I sold, I don't know how many of them this league, like 30 of them. It was just a massive amount of them. And also at some point I started saving them so that I can run the safe houses and upgrade them myself, right? So that was one thing. I was making the breach stones, selling the bad ones, and then saving the Chayulas to upgrade them. That was one strategy. Another thing that I was doing is also making sure that I sustain a lot of maps. So what I did is I unspec'd all of the watchstones from all of the other regions and went back to Awakener level 1. This is a strategy that people somehow are like, there's no way that works like that. And then they try it and then they're like, what the fuck, why do I have so many maps? So the strategy for me was to unsocket all of this. I went to Awakener level 1, and basically the reason was I want maps only from this region, which means the only region when I want 4 watchstones in is this one, which means I'm going for either 4 watchstones or 0 watchstones. That will minimize the number of tiers of maps that I can drop, which gives you like a hidden counter toward dropping the 14, 15, 16 maps, and that meant that I could basically permanently sustain Shipyard. The reason why I pick Shipyard is because it gives you the divination card as well, and that divination card is, let me see if I can type it, fusing this, Lucky Connections, okay? Lucky Connections is a card that you get multiple of those every single map, multiple of those cards, and they give you fusings, and then I was selling fusings for exalt. Made a bunch of exalts selling fusings that I got from lucky connections. So that's why I picked Shipyard. Shipyard also doesn't have that bad of a layout. It's not the best for breaches, but you can get around it and you can still clear breaches pretty well in it. Some people were like swearing by Estuary, but I think Estuary is not as good. The layout actually, for me, it's personally worse than the Shipyard. I find breaches to be harder to do in Estuary because of like very large gaps that you cannot jump around. So a lot of the breach monsters are end up being wasted in certain situations. And then I don't think it drops anything particularly good, so I settled for the Shipyard. Race Course is also a great one for a T15, but it doesn't drop anything good. However, the layout is amazing. So layout, Race Course is like the best layout, but in terms of the map, the best one is Shipyard. So I triple favorited Shipyard. I think I bought like a couple of maps just so that I can do the objectives and favored the Shipyard, and I permanently sustained Shipyard. Just kept running Shipyard with Breach Scarab and Blight Scarab at first. Unfortunately, there is a bug. If you get a sextant that says an area contains additional Blight encounter, and if you get a map enchantment, area contains additional Blight encounter, because all of these maps would drop from this region for me, unless they were like T1 to 4. So these maps with extra Blight encounter would be in this region, but they actually don't stack. They should stack. It's a bug. I reported it on the forums. It should stack, but unfortunately it doesn't. It's fucking broken, so you can only get one Blight encounter per map. So if you get a map with that enchantment, or if you get a sextant, do not run the Scarab, right? Because it will be wasted. Hopefully they will fix it, and then the strategy would be like insane, actually, stacking this. At that point, I would run different Watchstones. I would run Watchstones for Blight, but since it's not fixed, I run Watchstones for Breach, because you can get like what, 3, 4, like 5 breaches potentially a map. It's crazy. If you roll a sextant, like 6 breaches per map, it's really massive. So I farmed the Blight, and I got blighted maps from this. So after running these maps, I got some Breachstones and I got some blighted maps. The next thing I did was actually run the blighted maps. I did not sell my blighted maps, I actually ran them. So the way I ran them, I described in the previous video. There is also some kind of, I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, it's really hard to tell. GGG, please clarify, is this a bug or is this a feature? Because teal oil is supposed to speed up the map, but when you put a teal oil on the map, all of the monsters spawn extremely quickly. It becomes much harder. So I don't know if this is a bug or a feature. I have no idea, but you were able to like use teal oil and then like a couple of black oils. I usually recommend like using black oils. Black oils give you like increase like chance for the chest to continue to contain additional rewards, and they're cheap themselves, right? The oil itself is very cheap, so like Blight, Red, like basically use the best oils you can that you're not selling, right? So I stopped at like Opalescent. So I was running Blighted maps. Blighted maps dropped a lot of stuff. It's a very consistent source of currency, especially when you farm these maps yourself, and it's a nice change to do some mapping and then do some blighted maps. It's a very interesting thing to do. If the blighted maps are too hard for you, if you don't have much single target, like my character has very bad single target actually, so the way I tested many different ring enchants and strategies, the only thing that I could handle, like the massive crazy spawn with like teal oil that happened, was the stone gaze towers with increased duration. So I would put stone gaze tower everywhere around, and then some whatever random damage thing in the middle that would shoot if something gets through. So that's what I was using to farm the blighted maps, and you cannot fail that if you place these towers properly. Even if you like die, and you can still come back because the monsters are just like stunned. Just make sure you don't roll on your maps like monsters speed cannot be slowed or something, like monsters cannot be slowed, because that will potentially make these towers like useless, right? Because monsters will not be able to be slowed. So I run blighted maps after that. I sold a bunch of golden oils. I sold 2 pairs of gloves that were for like 3x. I found prism guardian. So I also found a bunch of other small stuff, like just fossils, for example. I made like an X from like extra fossils. I found a bunch of other stuff, tons of little currencies that end up adding over time and selling, right? So that was the second strategy that I was doing. After that, I wanted to upgrade my breach stones, right? Since I was getting my own breach stones, it would be efficient if I also run Betrayal. Credit to Kobe Black Mamba. I was watching his stream and I found out from him that there is a strategy for farming Betrayal that actually people are paying for Ashling T4, right? So Ashling T4 actually gives you a nice, like a slam with the veiled mod, and people were paying for that like 3-4 exalts. So okay, that meant I'm gonna go to my old Betrayal farming strat in this region. And in this region you can also find rituals and essences. So you'll notice common theme, right? I'm doing multiple things at the same time. Never do like, I mean, maybe you can do that, but if you do multiple things at the same time, you're much more efficient, right? So if I'm farming this region, I'm doing both, like Blight and the Breach, right? But I'm stacking one thing as much as I can still. So in this region, I was doing basically getting the maps. So I socketed some watchstones in here. I rolled some watchstones that had increased chance for June. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of watchstones. All of them are craftable, that have randomly encountered masters in areas, have up to like 100% increased chance to be June, and master missions have 100% increased chance to be June. This is again multiplied by each watchstone individually is multiplied by the secrets of the stones. They're not like added up and then multiplied. This is important to know. This is only like one single watchstone goes gets through this multiplication, and then another one, and then another one, and then they are added together. It is important for some of the numbers because of like how they are rounded down basically. So this was the second region. In this region I triple favorited, or actually double favorited, Atoll and single favorite Cemetery. I was running Atoll and Cemetery mainly, and I was doing the following. Number one, I was running essences. So I was using essence on the map device. I simply do like chisel alch the map, maybe put a sack fragment and just run the map. I wasn't bothering too much with rolling much else on this map. And whenever there are essences that are corruptible, like the purple ones, right, that you can upgrade into like Insanity or Hysteria essence and so on, I would corrupt them with the Remnant of Corruption, and then I would just grab all the other ones and then I would sell them later in bulk. This is pretty decent, like static source of currency. You're never gonna get like rich doing that, but you can make solid currency doing it. The next thing that I was doing is doing the rituals, and whenever the rituals happened, I would pick up from these rituals every single time the ritual splinters. These vessels sell for like 30-40 C. If you fill them in, they sold for like 0.4x. I think I sold like 10 of these blood-filled vessels, which made me like, I don't know, like 4 or 5x or something like that, right? So I made a bunch of currency from the rituals as well. Nothing else valuable from the rituals that I found at all, just the splinters and the vessels. And then the main thing I was running it for was of course June. You might notice that this is very, very weird. And the reason why this is weird like that is because if you pick the intelligence gathering, you will actually keep gaining intelligence to safe houses that you don't want to gain intelligence for very often. So I was, for example, if I want this safe house, right? If I want Ashling to go into it, I can't have it sit at 100% and not being able to spawn. I need to make sure that it spawns, right? So the thing that I was doing with Betrayal, and Betrayal is a very, very complicated mechanic, but for those of you who have like a basic idea of how to manipulate things, currently in this league there is a very, very good strategy in which you can put It That Fled as a leader. You want to put It That Fled as a leader, rank 3 in the research. You want to put Vorici rank 3, and then you want to put Ashling rank 3, not as a leader, doesn't matter, just put Ashling rank 3 in research. And then in intervention you want to put Tora, Gravicious, Elrion, Riker and Haku, right? Those are the ones that you want to put. Basically the most expensive winged scarabs, right? So you want to put the people who will give you the most expensive winged scarabs, 5 of them, all rank 3. And then It That Fled rank 3, Vorici rank 3, Ashling rank 3. If you can manage to do that and run Katarina, you're getting paid like 6-7x immediately. You're getting paid a massive amount of money. You're making like 6-7x from that. This requires a decent knowledge of how to manipulate the board. If you don't want to bother with that, just put Ashling rank 3 into research. Just put Ashling rank 3 into research and run Katarina, okay? That will give you a decent currency. If you don't know how to manipulate it too much, just make sure Ashling is in research, rank 3. Don't put her as a leader because it will be very hard to rank her up if she doesn't have any relationships. If you need to rank up your guys really, really quickly, you can go to Valdo and run Test of Loyalty, which makes Immortal Syndicate members that are executed in areas have 100% chance to gain an additional rank. In order to execute them, you need to have 2 of them spawn, and then when you have this right option that gives you an additional rank, they will basically gain 2 ranks and go to rank 3 immediately, right? So this is something that you can do. And then if you need to speed up your safe house spawning, then what you do is just unspec this point and spec this point instead, the intelligence gathering. This makes the safe houses spawn very, very quickly. So once I got into that safe house, I got a lot of scarabs. I actually at first farmed scarabs that I needed for myself for this region. So I was like getting like 3 scarabs of like Blight, Breach and Legion, all the good stuff. And I was using them in this region while running the maps for myself, even like the juicy ones. And also I was upgrading the breach stones and then selling them. So upgrading 2 breach stones, it was like 1x plus profit as well. And that was the next thing that I was doing. And then I would come back to this region and farm more maps. And I had watchstones in here and I had watchstones in here. So I would basically just farm this region, get a lot of maps, and I would get like 20 atolls and like 10 cemeteries. Then I would rush through them, get a bunch of missions, do my safe houses, and then run out of the maps because I'm not juicing maps as much, and then go back to this region and farm some more and build up a pool of maps. And then meanwhile, while I was doing that, I was selling other maps. The maps that I sold, this is like my empty tab right now. Like I went down to 1 atoll and 3 shipyards or 4 shipyards because I know this is enough to sustain. I drop like 3-4 T16 maps every single map. It's super easy to sustain maps once you have high awakener level and you're juicing the maps. So I went to back to this region and I upgraded my strategy. I started investing more and more. So I started investing into prophecies. You want to run the Tempest for increased quantity. This will give you more maps, more divination cards, more splinters, just more stuff in general. And then I also started running the Elder Scarab and the Metamorph Scarab. The Elder Scarab, you can buy even gilded ones. They're very, very cheap. I was using them to do the recipe, right? Because if you have like items of the same influence, right, you're gonna get 4 exalted shards. So basically it's like a chaos recipe but with influenced items. So they have to be like all elder or all shaper, and if you do that, you can use shaper scarabs that are very, very cheap, but elder scarabs add more monsters to the maps. That's why I was using them. Whenever you do that recipe, you get 4 exalted shards. This is something that not many people know about, but it's very, very nice to do because you don't need to do it very often, because you're gonna get very few rings and amulets from that. So basically you pick up enough so that you have like the full set, and now I just need the rings, right? So whenever I find a couple of elder rings, that's suddenly like 0.4x, right, or 0.2x, right? So that is very, very nice, especially with the high price of Exalt, which I think went up again. It's like 140C or something like that. So that's very, very nice. And then I also run the Metamorph Scarab because for example, like fertile catalysts were like for 9-10C, some crazy price like that. So catalysts were pretty expensive. Metamorph Scarab was definitely worth running as well. And that was essentially my strategy. I just kept doing that and perfecting that and trying to be a little bit more efficient every single day. I did it for I think like 6 days and I got my HeadHunter finally. It was very, very annoying and difficult, and in the last day I just sold so many things. I had to sell all of the things in bulk. I sold so many essences, I sold a bunch of oils, I sold a bunch of catalysts, I sold a bunch of fragments, sold some scarabs that I didn't need as well, right? So that's how I made this 130x for the HeadHunter, and this strategy is still valid, right? So right now, if you're watching this video when it's released, right, and you want to play over the weekend and do something to grind currency, this strategy will still work. Yes, the breach stones are a little bit less expensive, and the oils are a little bit less expensive, and maybe the ashling is going to be a little bit less expensive, but everything is still going to give you good amount of currency, and it's always better to do something rather than nothing. There are plenty of other strategies that you can do in order to make some cash. However, this is the thing that worked for me. That's how I made a HeadHunter, and now I can start finally upgrading my character into some big juiced content. One note though, I was not doing the league mechanic. I was completely skipping the league mechanic. The reason was the league mechanic was pretty shit. It was still rewarding, but it was very, very RNG. So I didn't want to waste time, and I didn't want to get like boss encounter and then my character is shit single target, so I've potentially, like, I can fail the boss. I don't even want to have a chance of failing the boss, right? I killed the boss once and then I failed it another time, and then I was like, okay, I'm not doing the league mechanic, I'm just gonna spend my time doing the thing that actually gives me guaranteed currency. And that's what you want to do. I wasn't spending my currency and I was doing only the things that gave me the guaranteed currency. This is a very, very important point that I want to get across. But once I got the headhunter, now I am gonna be juicing the hell out of the league mechanic, because it also has been buffed. Yesterday I think there was a patch which buffed the league mechanic. Now it is more rewarding. I fought the boss twice in a row, two maps in a row I had the boss from the ultimatum, so it is definitely more profitable now and buffed now. If your build can do it very, very consistently, you can always kill him, then you should probably be doing it now. However, if you want to stick to a certain strategy, remember, do the thing that will give you currency most often. And that was basically it. That's the strategy that I did. I made sure to progress my Awakener. Every time I had the Last Conqueror and Awakener, I switched to my Boss Killer, socketed all the Watchstones, and GGG, please add an option so that we can save the preset. Dude, I just want to be able to like put the Watchstones in and have like let's say three options to like save a preset. Save a preset for Watchstones, and then if I click this, it will automatically put the Watchstones. Like, this is not fun gameplay, okay? Doing this, clicking this, oh, I clicked the wrong thing, and then clicking this, and then clicking this, and oh, I need to go, oh, I have to, oh, click this, click this, click this, oh, I'm missing one, oh, I need a blue one, okay, click this, and you sit like that for a minute. This is not fun. Nobody wants to do this. You know, please let us save presets for Watchstones. You introduced an extremely tedious mechanic. Please make it a little bit less tedious. The challenge of the mechanic should not be, you know, clicking the thing and clicking the thing. It should be trying to understand it, right? Once you understand it, you should have an easy time doing it. So please, GGG, I beg you, make a option to like save presets for Watchstones. Thank you so much. And that's basically it. You can check out my stream at Asmodeus Stream on Twitch TV. I would also like to give a big thanks to all of the Patreon supporters who are using my loot filters. I hope you're enjoying them. And thank you guys for watching. See you next time.